this secret society that was so prominent in the founding of the nation. I mean, I went through K through 12 and got out of high school in 2001, the same year Google became a thing right after I graduated. When I was in high school, it was just Yahoo and Alta Vista. Nobody even heard of Google. Google became the thing my freshman year of college in September of 2001, right before 9/11 happened, or before the Patriot Act happened, right before all there were these new surveillance systems, and now they're listening to us through our phones. Now everybody's got a phone in their pocket. But anyway, back then I was starting to research things more, and then it was like around that time that I started to learn about Freemasonry and how important it was in the beginning of the nation and how important this number 33 was. And I thought, well, that's weird that Freemasonry is so important in the beginning, and 33, the highest degree of the Scottish Rite, which has a headquarters in D.C., which has 33 columns on the outside that are each 33 feet tall. So I'm reading things like this, and I'm looking at how 33 years before 9/11, in 1968, World Trade Center construction began. 911 was made the national emergency dialing code. George W. Bush graduated from his secret society at Yale, Skull and Bones. How so many things happened in 1968. MLK assassination, RFK assassination, coronavirus coined, fentanyl approved by the FDA, 1968, the year of years. And both Jay-Z and Diddy would be born the next year in 69, as we'll get to. But, yeah, you know, Jay-Z, he was on Rockefeller Records, and he put out The Blueprint on September 11th, 2001. This New York rapper, the day the World Trade Centers come down 9/11, The Blueprint, like, you know, construction plans. And with regards to Rockefeller, look into who was behind the World Trade Center project. It was the Rockefeller family. Rockefeller. The thing that, you know, my friend thinks that other people just can't ultimately get their head around is this idea of letters and numbers, which goes back to the Hebrew alphabet where every letter is a number, but then it also applies to ancient Greek. And then the question became, well, does it apply to English as well? Again, in the English code of ABC is 1, 2, 3, the name Rockefeller equates to 110. In that same cipher, so does Osama bin Laden. And there's a lot more to say about it. World Trade Center is 185. It came down 185 days after Osama bin Laden's birthday. Anyway, there's a lot more to say about these things. But the point I'm trying to make is when I was trying to figure out what was going on in this world, I saw there was something to numbers and patterns. And I asked a lot of questions, did a lot of research, but then when I found this letter and number thing and started to look into it, I was just, from day one that I found this in 2013, I found this knowledge in 2013 out of Manly P. Hall's book. And I put the knowledge to the test to see what was there. Because that's kind of, again, if you read Secret Teachings of All Ages, Manly P. Hall mentions this ABC 1, 2, 3 code in English, but then doesn't legitimize it. He says, you know, like there's more research to be done here. It might not really matter. So I was like, well, let's see. Let's see if things start to add up. And right away, they started to add up in a major way. So again, from understanding this knowledge, we've been able to forecast the future in so many things: sports, news, politics, elections, markets, Bitcoin, establishing the fact in spades. Not a perfect prediction record, but a very strong and specific prediction record. And again, I'd put up any of the predictions I made against anybody's predictions in history. We've had some things that were so dead on, it defied the laws of future casting. And again, it's not because we're psychics. It's because we figured out the way this game is being rigged and how these patterns persist and certain numbers come up. So I mentioned at this time, if you go back and watch my video on the death of Clarence Avant, last year he died. And I mentioned how the mainstream media syndicated this story with this photo with Clarence Avant, who had just passed, the Black Godfather, with Jay-Z and Diddy, both born a month apart in 69. Diddy's born November 4th. Jay-Z's born December 4th. Sean Combs, Sean Carter. It's interesting they're both Seans. Maybe that aspect needs to be explored. But I'm going to look into the origins of the name Sean now that I think about it. Two Seans. But what I talked about is Clarence Avant's death had a lot to do with 54, which is not an arbitrary number. Again, back in the day, the celebrity hangout was Studio 54, Club 54. Again, it goes back to the Jesuits, whose headquarters is at the Church of the Jesu, 54. But anyway, I talked about how Jay-Z and Diddy were about to turn 54, and Clarence Avant had just died in this 54 ritual 54 years after establishing Sussex Records in 1969, the year that both Sean Combs and Sean Carter were born.